Hi, my name is Nicole and I'm here to do a book review of The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. So as a really quick summary taken straight from the back of the book, Star is the only witness to the fatal shooting of her unarmed best friend. It's obviously a very topical book considering these are the sort of situations that we see play out quite a lot in the US right now and in other parts of the world as well, but with less media fare perhaps. The shooting that happens in the book happens quite early on, within about the first 30 pages, and then we follow the story straight through to an eventual court decision. I wasn't originally going to pick up the book, but a friend of mine read it and thought that I would like it because of the kinds of social issues that I tend to follow, and I got about 25% of the way in before I decided to switch from paperback to the audiobook, and I'm glad I did, because for me that was just an easier way of getting through the story and not feeling like it was going to be a really big investment of my time because I'm quite a slow reader, but also because the narration was really good at getting the feel of the characters and bringing them to life, bringing the story to life. So I would definitely recommend the audiobook for anybody, even if you're not a slow reader like I am. And I'll put the name of the narrator somewhere on the screen or in the description box or something, because I don't remember it right now. So some of the main themes that I thought were really interesting that were brought out in the book was one of microaggressions, and how, although they initially don't seem like a big deal, can have further effects and turn into overt aggressions or fatal mistakes. Following on from that, another thing that I thought was really interesting was the issue of respectability politics, and that is explored through certain people in the book suggesting that the murder of this unarmed teenager is justified because of certain things that he perhaps did, and it isn't even known at the point when these sorts of things are suggested. And I feel like that's a big issue that is often ignored, this idea that just because someone isn't a saint, they somehow do not deserve the kind of justice that we would give to other people. Being young adult, it is very accessible and really easy to get into what are essentially really big topics that you can go really far down the rabbit hole into finding out different things about the extent of the effects of microaggressions, or how respectability politics works, or issues to do with people not accepting the intersectionality of lots of the problems that we're forced to come face to face with when these incidents take place. It puts readers in the perspective of someone affected by incidents like this. The characters felt relatable and like people that I know, or like the situations were ones where I know people in those kinds of situations, and I feel like that's part of what made it so relatable. But also just seeing this kind of perspective is different for literature, and I think we're probably going to start to see more and more of that as time goes on, with these issues becoming more highlighted, and that'll be interesting to see how that's handled. The way that she builds the cultural environment of being in that sort of community was really good, and I think that people outside of that kind of community will have a better idea through this book of what comes along with that experience perhaps, but also, very importantly, I think people outside of that sort of community will have an idea of how they come across to that community. Overall, it was a worthwhile read. I thought it was really well expressed, and I feel like it is a good entry point for someone who's not sure about the other sides that they're not seeing represented in the media, because it does deal with, like I said, some of those more complex issues. It doesn't present it as though all black people are actually saints in this terrible like, we do get to see how a society plays a huge role in what people are able to do or feel like they're able to do or not do, but we also get to see that it is more complex within those communities, and not everyone is concerned with progress for the whole community. So that's interesting to explore as well, and seeing how that pushes back on some of the progress within the community, and seeing how that is taken by the media to almost bolster their stereotypes that they already have about the community. The book handles a lot of these more complex issues in a really engaging way. I know that it's a super popular book still, so if you've already read it or if you haven't already read it and you're thinking about it and you're still not sure, leave some comments down below and I'll see you again next time. Bye!